Ranching is passed down from generation to generation. Know what else gets passed down? The world's finest ranch and rodeo equipment, manufactured by WW Livestock Systems. Ranchers demand quality, and they have come to depend on WW equipment to fulfill their needs, large or small. We invite you to consider WW, made in America, available coast to coast. WW Livestock Systems, the world's finest since 1945.
Thank you, Charlie. Thanks, Rocky. Thanks, Cooper. You too, Toby and Jody and Daisy and Sadie and Gracie. Your loyalty means everything to us, which is why we perfected the recipes behind our food and included special support for mobility and immunity. Find premium nutrition near you at nutrinaworld.com/loyallife. Nutrina, what's inside counts.
All right, everyone. Good afternoon and welcome back to the 2022 National Cattle Dog Association Finals. We are here, and as you can probably tell from your screen, we are moving into the final round of the horseback class with our first competitor, our first team, Todd, Jessen, and Alice. They are coming in 9th place into this final round. They have a combined score of 390 points from 2 runs in 17 minutes and 11 seconds. Sorry, 19 minutes and 7 seconds. So Todd and Alice are just 30 points behind some of the other teams in this class. They need every point they can get. But as we've seen today, we saw it in the nursery class. Teams that were deeper in the standings were able to have really strong runs in the finals and able to come out on top in the end. So it all can come down and all can change here. Todd and Alice might be coming to the post in 9th, but they have a very good opportunity here. Only 30 points back from some of the other teams. If they can lay down a really strong run, who knows where they'll end up in the end. So Todd and Alice are kicking off their fetch here, putting their cattle back together. They had one that kind of drifted a little bit on the fetch, or sorry, on the lift. The cattle have been getting a little heavier today. It's been a lot of runs for some of these cattle over the course of the week. They're getting wise to the whole deal. And we've seen some of the dogs that maybe had a little less push than others, but had really tight, well-timed flanks earlier in the week, were able to come out on top. And this morning in the nursery class, we saw some dogs that maybe didn't have the same level of precision, but had a little more push, seemed to fare a little bit better. So we'll have to see if that holds true for this horseback class, this finals for the horseback class. The good news is for Todd and Alice, they are off to a good start. He has got his cattle through his first fetch panels. Under 2 minutes is all it took. And now he is able to ride out and meet his dog and work with him. The handlers are not allowed to leave the handler's line until they make their first obstacle. So the dog is all on its own for that first little bit. But now Todd and Alice can work together, moving their cattle through obstacle 2 here. They've got 30 points so far. The one thing they're going to have to look out for, though, is how do they keep these 3 heifers together? And can they keep them together? So far, so good. Up to 60 points now. Sitting okay on time. We don't yet know what the standard is going to be for time on this course. It is similar to the nursery course we saw earlier in the day, but there are some twists, including a trailer load at the end. Last obstacle is a trailer load. And so it's going to be tricky here until we know for sure what the kind of competitive pace is for hitting some of these obstacles. Todd is going to be our guinea pig with Alice. So far, though, not much that you would do differently in this run if you could. They're at 3 minutes, just over 3 minutes. He needs a come by here to, an away here to get his cattle lined up on this obstacle. Slightly different than the nursery class. The nursery class, you just needed to push them through from that far side on the left side and then swing them back around on the right, but things are a bit different now. This time around, you need to put them on the left-hand side, driving away from the camera perspective, and then bring them back around through the opposite side. But needs to be careful. Some of his heifers were thinking about slipping out the right-hand side here. Fortunately, quick movements from both Todd and his dog managed to get that sorted. And they are going to head on a lengthy drive over to obstacle 4 now. We saw it in round 2 of horseback yesterday that runs could be won or lost in some of these long drives between obstacles. He's going to take a bit of a detour through obstacle 5 on his way to 4. They will be coming back for that obstacle after, if all goes well, on obstacle 4. Moving along pretty nicely, though. He's still under half of his allotted time. 10 minutes is the amount of time they get. And he's moving to obstacle 4, so he is kind of just passing the halfway mark. There are 7 obstacles in total in this course. And at about the halfway mark, he is getting close to his first attempt on obstacle 4, so he's at half his time and he's about halfway through. But the obstacles do get trickier. 4 is fairly straightforward, but 6 and 7 are going to be another story. He's had one of his heifers kind of balk at the opening of 4. They do get, it seems, a little bit nervous every now and then if you put too much pressure on them with a horse. They're very, very responsive to dogs, but we've seen it in round 2 of the horseback class, and we're kind of seeing it now. They can take offense if you push on them too hard on horseback. So he needs to get these turned around. His dog's in the right position. Needs them to turn their heads to the left there just ever so slightly to get angled into obstacle 4. They're wary of that horse, but they are going to go through. And now he wants to push them out the top there. Fortunately, one slipped away. Oh, okay. Let me take that back. He actually does want to sort them around that tree. 1 on this side of the tree and 2 on the top side. So he's done it right. A little bit of an extra challenge there on obstacle 4. And this is a course that is now littered with little challenges. There's going to be another challenge on obstacle 6 when they get there. 3 minutes remaining, 3 obstacles to go, but one of those obstacles is a trailer load. So top competitors are going to know they're going to need time. We don't yet know how these cattle are going to react to a trailer. We haven't yet seen any runs on any courses yet here at the finals that involved a trailer. This will be the first time. Now, fortunately, Todd will know these cattle pretty well. They are his. He has put a lot of time into making sure these cattle are ready for this week's events. So he will have some idea, perhaps, about how they react to a trailer load. But under trial conditions, everything can change. So he's got now 150 points. There are 2 remaining obstacles to go. Keep in mind, Todd is coming into this final with 390 points. There are 3 other competitors in this class that have 390 points coming into today. The remaining 4 handlers are coming in with 420. So not only does Todd want a full point run here, he also will need those 4 other handlers who have full points to drop 30 at some point in their runs if he wants the first place. So another sort here. He's going to want 2 out the bottom there, 1 out the top, and he's got it. Some really nice horse work there. He's left himself, though, less than a minute for this trailer load. Again, we've not seen one yet at the NCA Finals this week. And you probably would say, coming into this, you'd want a little bit more than a minute, or 40 seconds in this case, to get this going, but there's a shot here. They're lined up nice. Looks like they're looking at that opening. It's got one kind of lagging at the back. Look at that. He's going to get one on right away. And once that one goes in, it improves your chances. Unfortunately, this last one here, having second thoughts. He's down to his last 10 seconds. Can he get it in? Oh, and it's going to dodge him at the last minute. And he's going to run out of time. So close. And I'm going to ask the judge here if he gets partial points on the trailer load. Is that partial points for the trailer? So he will get 2 of his 3 heifers, 20 points out of 30 there. Not too shabby, considering he was coming at that trailer with 40 seconds to go. You might be really
Thank you, Charlie,
to take those 20 points versus nothing. So just 10 points shy of a full point run. We'll have to see how that holds up. There are a few more teams still to come that are coming in with 390 points, just like Todd and Alice did. But then there are also 4 teams coming in with 420 points. So we'll have to see. Next up, we are going to have Jeannie Buckley and her dog Ella. We saw this dog earlier today in the nursery class. And they are back. The bar is high, though.
He just had a couple seconds when he called.
She will need at least 200 points to match Todd's score there. Otherwise, she will be at best second place until we've seen more runs in this class. And here we are. Jeannie is riding out with her dog Ella. Now Jeannie and Ella, as mentioned earlier, are coming in with 390 points, which is the same amount Todd came out with. But she has over a minute and a half of extra time banked from her previous 2 runs, as the winner of this round will be the cumulative score of all 3 rounds. And if there's a tie, whoever had the shortest amount of time to complete all 3 runs will be the winner. And so Ella, even if she gets the same score as Todd, 200 points here, she has a minute and a half of buffer. Ella's on a nice outrun here. Went on the away side. Plenty wide. She has found her cattle, though. She didn't get locked onto the set out. But she needs to be careful here. One of her heifers is thinking about maybe going on a little bit of a vacation. And she needs Ella to firmly put this heifer back into the group here. She doesn't want it to just get him going in that direction and then forget about it. These heifers will and have fooled more than one dog and more than one group by punishing half flanks or incomplete regather jobs. But so far, Ella and Jeannie are still looking good. Would like to probably see their cattle come in a bit tighter together. But it can be hard at this distance when you're out there handling to know which of your heifers is further back and which one's closer, and which one do you prioritize with your dog if they're starting to split. The eye can play tricks on you when you're handling in a big trial like this. So right now I think her leftmost heifer is lagging, so she probably needs a little bit of an away here. Her first 2 look like they're heading in the right direction to make obstacle 1. And she's going to do it. So some nice handling there. Needs to be careful that her heifers don't sneak out the left-hand side, though. And she's got it. Well-timed away flank there. Tucks things in. So that's going to be her first 30 points for Jeannie and Ella. And now she can ride out and go help her dog with obstacle 2. Good work there from Ella just to calmly walk things forward. One thing you don't want to get caught doing, though, in this course is, you might be riding out to meet your dog or meet your cattle, but they need to be moving that whole time, because if you just kind of lie your dog down while you ride out there, you're going to lose a lot of time. So Jeannie did a nice job there, keeping her cattle moving even while she was riding out. And they're looking like they're on a nice line here to hit obstacle 2. Her dog's working the away side. She's going to follow in behind it. And she has to ride through that obstacle. The judge has let everyone know in the handlers meeting, and so good work from her there, not just to make the obstacle, but to remember that on this course the rule is to follow your cattle through obstacle 2. Now she's going to want to bring them around obstacle 3 here. They've got 60 points banked away. There's 150 more on the table for them, and she is going to want every single one of those points. Coming in minus 30 points compared to some of the other higher seeded teams means she can't leave anything on the table if she wants a shot at first. And she's going to need to hope that some of her competitors slip up at one point or another. So she wants her cattle to come on the left side here through this obstacle, then back around through the right hand side. So she's going to ask her dog for a come by here while she works the right hand side. She'll cover this side of the obstacle, ask her dog to nudge the cattle through, And that looks good. Real nice textbook work there from Jeannie and Ella. Made it look easy, made it look clean. Now she's headed to number 4. Now number 4 has a bit of a sword involved in it. For those just joining us, you'll see kind of what that looks like in a second. But she doesn't want to slow things down here too much. She needs to keep her cattle moving. Of course, Ella should kind of stay a little bit in their eye so that they don't head off too far to the right here and over in the direction of the exhaust, which is just to the right of the camera. But you don't want to be too cautious. You don't want to be shutting your cattle down too much. They need to move to get you from obstacle to obstacle on this course. There's a lot to do in 10 minutes. And coming up on the 5.5 minute mark, they are perhaps a bit behind where they'd like to be. They're just about halfway through the course, but some of the harder obstacles are still ahead of them. And they've only got 4.5 minutes remaining on their clock. So she wants to put them through that right side, right where she's got them. Needs an away flank here to hopefully tuck in that lead heifer. She's not convinced, though. She's going to try and see if there are other options for her. Even going to try and beat the horse through that gap. Luckily, Jeannie rightfully finds the moment to close that avenue. And this heifer's now looked for almost any excuse to go anywhere but where Jeannie wants it. But good work from Jeannie and her dog. Nice calm work. They're going to now try and put one heifer out the left side of this obstacle below the tree, just like that, and the other 2 out the other way. And they've done it. So she's going to get another 30 points there. That was really well done, especially given the fact that one of those heifers were not quite sold on the idea of going in there in the first place.
Yeah, we gotta become next.
So a nice job there from Jeannie and Ella. Now they're going to make their way to 5. Now number 5 is fairly straightforward. They're working on a full point run here. They have 3 minutes to go, 3 obstacles. One of those obstacles is a trailer load. We saw how tricky it can be to leave that with less than a minute to complete. As we saw with Todd and Alice and their run just moments ago. You can get these cattle on this trailer fairly quickly if you've got everything in the right place, but if you need to be pushing on them hard because you're running low on time, it can make things really tricky for you, as we saw. And so Todd only ended up with 20 out of 30 points on his trailer, and that was the difference between a full point run and a not quite full point run. And Jeannie needs to think about 2 more obstacles, 2 minutes to do it, give or take. Maybe it is time to move things a bit quicker. Got a nice, calm, leisurely pace here, but the clock is saying this might not be the time for calm and leisurely anymore. Time is ticking away. Just over 90 seconds left. Gonna be a nice, easy load. One heifer's got its head on the right side here of the opening. We need that about a foot over. We're gonna see maybe a come by here. Yep, just to seal the deal if she can. The pressure of her horse is a factor here. She needs to be careful that she's not putting too much on these cattle, pushing them over her dog. We've seen that happen even when horses weren't involved. Earlier in the nursery class, some handlers worked the top side of this obstacle with a bit too much presence. But this is looking good now. She's got her 2 cattle down the bottom side, and she just needs this this last heifer to leave out the top end. And she's going to get 30 points here, but now she has even less time than Todd did to get her last obstacle. He left himself with about 45, 50 seconds. She's left herself with less than 30. Is it enough? Will it be enough time? 18 seconds or so, unofficially. She's still about 20, 30 yards away from this trailer with less than 10 seconds to go, and I think, unfortunately, Jeannie and Ella are going to be just shy of a full point run here.
Time!
And there it is. Time has expired. And that's where you start to look back at your run and you think, could I have maybe sped my cattle up a little bit on the fetch or on one of those drives between obstacles? I'm guilty of it myself as a handler. I like to keep things calm and smooth, and you know, when you're early on in your run, you have all the time in the world, but there's no amount of money in the world that can get you those seconds back when you make it to the end of your course and you're moments away from getting your last obstacle and you run out. So we'll see that kind of constant juggling act between keeping things calm and moving things along. Some handlers will risk things at certain points, and if the stars align for them, they'll save time. Others will push and find it rattles their cattle or causes them to lose more time than they otherwise might have. But that is dog trialing, that is cattle dog trialing. You have to constantly be balancing time, speed, control. But still a great run from Jeannie and her dog Ella. I'm sure we'll see many more great runs. Next up on our adventure through the Horseback Finals class, we have Todd Jessen back again. Just saw him run with Alice. This time he will be running with Digger. And they are coming in as the seventh seed in our final round. Also with a score of 390 points coming into today. Giving a number of come-by whistles to Digger to make sure he gets wide enough on this outrun. He has found his cattle. Getting things started in a hurry, which, as long as your cattle end up pointed in the right direction and moving vaguely together, you're happy with. We've seen it already. Time is a factor on this course, and if you can shave off some seconds on this fetch or in covering some of the ground between obstacles, you're happy. The problem he's got here, though, is his cattle are way off to the right, and Digger is not quite as responsive as he would like on some of those come-bys. He's got him underhand now, but Digger ignored a few come-by whistles on that fetch, and as a result, there was a bit of drama turning them back around, but they've got things sorted now. Just needs to make sure that even as he's riding out there, as Todd is now doing to help his dog with obstacle 2, he's got to make sure that while he's doing so, Digger stays on the task, doesn't overflank. His cattle are moving fast. It's going to be important for him to keep him going, and That is really, really nice. They are making time here. They're running fast and loose, but it's a gamble that so far has paid off. You know, we just saw a real clinic from Jeannie and her dog Ella in moving the cattle calm and slow, under control, from obstacle to obstacle. Real nice, precise work. But they ran out of time in the end on obstacle 7, that trailer load. And Todd is taking a very different approach here. They're moving these cattle quickly, lots of whistles, working with his dog on horseback. He's covering the right side here. And so far, their approach of going fast and a little bit looser is working for them. Now, one heifer here went through the wrong side. He's still good though. She didn't come all the way through. He just needs to make sure he gets this last heifer. And that was pretty nice. That was a good save there. That could have gone off the rails if that heifer had decided she wasn't gonna cooperate all by her lonesome there. But they are blazing through this course, and so far have been able to really quickly correct any signs of trouble in short order, making their way now to obstacle 4. So what they want to do here is put their cattle through the right side, obstacle 4. They want to put them through obstacle 4, have one come on this side of the tree back there. The other 2 out the top side. Digger, unfortunately, is zeroed in on the 2 back there, but he's still in the game here. He just needs Digger to turn on to this heifer. Digger has decided to go deal with the 2 back there, so Todd is left to deal with this by himself, and unfortunately, that is going to cost them some time. Now, they have given themselves a healthy cushion here, but that is going to hurt, and it's one of the risks of run and gun style. You can move fast if you've got the skills and the reaction time to quickly fix anything that might go wrong, as Todd and Digger have shown multiple times already in this run they do. You're laughing, but there's a lot to recommend that the Jeannie and Ella approach that we saw in the last round as well, where you keep mistakes or you keep detours to an absolute minimum by keeping everything real slow and real controlled. But even still, despite that minor bobble there, Todd and Digger are sitting in good shape. He's going to put his first 2 cattle through. This is a risky way to approach any obstacle, because it is not easy to steer a single heifer who sees her friends left alone. So he's going to need to come by here, and it's going to need to be a tight come by to steer her through. And he's done it. He's living life dangerously, but it has paid off for Digger and Todd. Lesser handlers would not dare to try some of these high-risk maneuvers, but if you can pull them off, you can find yourselves with 6 minutes elapsed on the clock and only 2 obstacles to go. And your hat has to go off to Todd and Digger here for daring to dream with some of these obstacles. Certainly more courage than I might have when I run tomorrow in the open finals. But still not out of the woods. His cattle have been moved quick. They've been moved rapidly at times. They've been moved alone. And so, can he get them back on the program for Obstacle 5? Again, one of the nice things about the approach that Jeannie and Ella took is their cattle were moved kind of gently through the course the whole way. Took a little bit longer, but perhaps had a little bit more patience by the time you got to some of these trickier obstacles. Needs a bigger come by there from Digger. Digger is not quite giving him the full come by he needs. He's stopping short. Did it twice there, and that made it really tricky to tuck that last heifer in. And she's not happy now either. She said, I went where the dog told me to, and for some reason that wasn't good enough. Is she mortally offended? Doesn't look like it. But this is the cost, though. You live dangerously, and you can pay the price. One of the tricky things about running that high-risk style that can be so rewarding if you pull it off is you can run into a situation later in your run where your cattle are maybe a little less trusting, a little less patient than they otherwise might have been. It's that constant seesaw that you have to weigh in your mind. And now, coming up on just over a minute left in this run, what looked like it could potentially be a miracle full pointer is looking like it might be a toss-up to even get 30 of the remaining 60 points on the table. And it's almost in a way too late now to calm things down. And that's what they're going to try here. This is a really skilled team. Very, very skilled handler. Very skilled dog. We've seen a lot of really, really impressive work in this run. Can they get their final 30 points? He's got 2 at the bottom. He's going to get this. But there is only 20 seconds now for the trailer load. We might be about to see a miracle, but it's looking unlikely. This would need to be a world record trailer load here. More than likely, we are going to see Todd and Digger, after a lot of great work, end up just 30 points shy of a full point run. And there it is. Time is up. 180 seconds. And similar to Todd and Alice, one heifer is going to balk at the trailer, but time has elapsed anyway. So that is it for Todd and Alice and Digger. Still a great run, but just shy of perfection. Here we are with our next run in the horseback class. Dwayne Hurleman and his dog Bill. Now, Dwayne had 2 very nice runs yesterday in the second round of horseback. Really, really strong showing from Dwayne with both of his dogs. And so this is the first of 2 dogs that he has here in the final round. And we're going to look for some nice work from Dwayne if he continues the trend of what we saw from him yesterday. Dwayne is coming in also with 390 points. This is the last team coming into the finals that had 390 points. He is sitting 5th at the beginning of this round. But this is a team and a handler that can win based on what we saw yesterday. In fact, the only reason Dwayne is coming in with only 390 points on this dog instead of 420, is because he forgot to come through an obstacle himself behind his cattle. He put them through just like you'd like, had a full point run, but unfortunately due to that minor miss on one of the rules, did lose 30 points on one of his obstacles. But that is all that prevented Dwayne from having a full point run with this dog. His other dog, he of course did have a full point run. And Bryce, I will 1,000% agree with you on that. Digger and Todd pulled off some moves that you just won't see many folks have the courage or the ability to even attempt, and it all but worked for them for 90% of that run. 5 or 6 times they pulled off hallelujah maneuvers that worked, but one of the risks of going back to that well too often is even the best handlers and the best dogs will get burned eventually, and fortunately that was the case there. But definitely a fun run to watch, and some really, really neat work there. Dwayne so far though is off to a great start. His cattle are moving really nice, similar to what we saw yesterday from him with both of his dogs. No trouble getting his cattle to move from obstacle to obstacle. He needs a big away here though to make this panel, and he is going to be just a bit behind where he wanted to be. He needs a nice wide flank now to turn this heifer back, get her with the group. This is a team that can make up for lost time. This has not been a fatal error, but it needs to be something they fix and move on from real quick. Big come by flank here. Needs to turn the head of that leftmost heifer. His other 2 are in an okay position. If he can turn that leftmost one, there's a good chance that his other 2. Now we want to see Dwayne come through this obstacle here. We do not want him to forget to do it. He did this yesterday with this dog. Oh, Dwayne, no. He's done it again. That is a heartbreaker. He is going to lose all 30 of his points for this obstacle unless he remembers. The judge is not allowed to say anything to him. Not that I believe so anyways. And he is going to be kicking himself for that. Yesterday, the exact same mistake on the same obstacle, more or less. And just for everyone at home to be sure, the rule is, for this particular course, the judge wants to see the handlers put their cattle through obstacle 2 and then follow them through on horseback. And it's a shame because you can tell with the way Dwayne is working his dog and how nice his dog is working, he can put these cattle anywhere he wants. And he did it. All he needed to do was ride through behind. And that is, to make that mistake once, as they did yesterday, is heartbreaking. To make it twice is, well, even more so, I guess. And it's a shame, because even if he remembered at this point, he'd have to backtrack quite a bit. So he's working at most from 180 points now on this run. which is going to be a shame because every move he and his dog are making so far has just been really nice. Look at this. They're getting that combination of speed and precision. Just some really nice horse work as well. They look like a team out there. And, he's going to be kicking himself when he gets done on his run today and realizes... Yeah, and Desiree, the sad part is yesterday he had a full point run with this dog. It's the reason why he's coming in with just 390 points today instead of 420. The only reason he didn't come into today with full points is because of that same mistake yesterday. And it's a shame. Not only does it mean that he will likely not be in the running for first or second or maybe even third, depending on how the rest of these runs go. It means money, prize money that would have been his is also less. Fortunately, he has another dog, though. He has another dog in this class that's seated even higher than this one. He's in second place coming in today with his other dog, Sid. And we have to believe by the time he runs that dog, he's going to know, he's going to really remember obstacle 2. He did not make that same mistake with that dog yesterday. But again, a perfect performance on obstacle 4. And it's hard not to feel a bit bad as you watch Dwayne and this dog Bill just put on a master class at each one of these obstacles so far, but also to know at the same time that they've thrown 30 of their points away that they rightfully should have, if not for that small mistake. So he's got over 3 minutes left, 3 obstacles to go. They're well on pace relative to some of the other runs we've seen. But we've also seen almost every run struggle a bit at obstacle 6, and it has sapped a lot of their time that they wanted to have for that trailer load. We have yet to see a team complete their trailer load with full points. Our first run, Todd and his dog Alice came close. Dwayne makes short work of this obstacle, though. He's got 2.5 minutes now. He's in the home stretch. At this point in his head, he's thinking this is going really well. I'm on my way to a full point run here. And he would be right, if not for that technicality on obstacle 2. But he still has a run to be proud of, no doubt about it. He just needs to close it out here. He would still probably like to still come away with 180 out of 210 on this course if he can get it. 2 minutes now. 2 minutes to get the pen, keep things settled. This has been where we've seen some of the cattle so far today start to lose their patience a little bit. You know, it's day 5 or 6 of this trial. It's close to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We've seen that even the nicest cattle, the nicest sets have started to get a little testy about being put into obstacle 6 here. And so it's tricky. It's when you almost need to push them the most because your time is running light. But you also need to finesse them in. I've got a question here from Desiree Moffat asking if on that one obstacle, is it 40 points total and just 30? And the answer to that is it is just a 30-point obstacle. Obstacle number 2 is a 30-point obstacle, just like the rest. 10 points per cattle, per heifer that you put through. But if you do not ride through behind your cattle on that obstacle, you get no points. And that rule is just to make sure that folks aren't sitting back 100 yards away and putting the cattle through with their dog. This is a horseback round, so the judge wants to see people riding out there and working with their dog through that obstacle, and so that's why that rule exists. And we know that Dwayne was past the obstacle already. He certainly wasn't trying to cut the course. It's just he forgot that when all was said and done, he needed to follow through. And unfortunately, they are going to run out of time here. And that would have been a 180-point run, even without the trailer load. But unfortunately, Dwayne will have to settle for 150. And I think the judge is telling him now that he forgot to ride through obstacle 2. He's going to be kicking himself, but fortunately for Dwayne, he still gets one more kick at the can with his other dog that's coming in as a higher seed. Coming in with full points with his other dog. So if there was a dog to make that mistake with, it's probably Bill. Sorry, Bill, but his other dog has got full points still, so fortunately for Dwayne, he gets another shot. All right, and here we are with our next run. James Butler and Pete. This is our first team in this finals round coming to the post with full points, 420. Now this was the 5th place team coming out of the first 2 rounds. Again, we are working our way down to the first place team. They will run last. And if James can put together a nice run here, he will give himself a great opportunity to take the top prize. Now he's had a bit of trouble here with one of his heifers taking a bit of an adventure over to the left-hand side, but Pete has done a nice job listening to James's commands to get a handle on the situation. Now he wants a come by here from Pete, and Pete is resisting it a little bit. There he goes finally, but he needs more. He needs more of a come by, and I think he's going to get it. Now, is it enough? It looks like it is. Probably follow up with an away here, but not too much of an away. Too much, and his cattle will squirt out the right side, but I think he's done just enough to get these cattle through. Nice and clean. There's 30 points. A fairly straightforward start. James is riding out now to meet Pete. Give him some help getting these cattle over to obstacle 2. Got them running maybe a bit too far to the left there. We don't want these cattle to get it in their heads that shade is fair game. So James did a nice job there, giving the away flank just to kind of control things a little bit. He's got his cattle lined up pretty nicely. Needs to cover this right-hand side, though. Might want to use his horse. He elects to use his dog. Either option works. One of the advantages of this class, you have options of how you want to move your cattle. Some teams rely on the dog to do most of the work. Others are really confident in their riding abilities and do most of it with their horse. The best teams seem to find a good give and take. Seems to be similar to the approach that James and Pete are taking here. He's covering the left-hand side, relying on Pete to push and hold the right. It's a good system for them. They need to come around this obstacle on our side of things and then go back through on the left-hand side, then wrap them back around through the right. He's going to need an away here as soon as he gets this heifer turned here on the left. The lighter color heifer wants to see her turn to the right there. And he's going to put the away on just like that. And he's going to do a come by now to swing these cattle around. But he needs to be careful. This heifer on the left side here is not committed to the turn yet. And unfortunately, she squeezed in the wrong direction. So he's going to give it another go here. So far, they're still in good shape. Just 3.5 minutes. You don't love to have to retry this obstacle, but if you can get it done in 2 tries, you're still okay. So they need to come all the way around here on the left-hand side of this thing. So far, so good. We're going to see an away flank here in a moment. As soon as he feels his cattle have got their heads around that first opening. There we go. Now a big come by is likely. But again, he needs to be careful not to do that come by too soon. He doesn't want to push one of these heifers back in. But by the same token, he does not want to see them go too far. He needs to... He's not out of the woods. If he can turn these back around, get their heads pointed in this lower right hand. There we go. And nice little pressure there from his horse on the left-hand side to keep his cattle going in the right direction. So a little bit of teamwork there. James relied more on his dog than we've seen some of the other teams so far today with that obstacle due. But he has a real good handle on his dog, and he's got the confidence that he can sit back a little bit more with the horse in moments like that. But his intervention there right at the last minute with a little nudge, step forward from his horse, was critical. So nice move there from this team. Now they are arguably a little bit behind where they want to be. This is just past the halfway mark, number 4 obstacle, but they are over halfway through their time. And again, the hardest obstacles are still to come. So this is the first of his sorts. He wants this heifer to go just where she did on this side of that tree. He made quick work of that obstacle. That is time that he will be happy to have later on. They did lose a little bit on obstacle 3, but they've made up a little bit on obstacle 4, so it may all come out in the wash. On their way down to 5. 5 is fairly straightforward. This is an obstacle you can kind of expect and hope to get on your first try more often than not. And he's urging Pete on. He knows time is going to be a factor here. It has been for every run we've seen so far. Almost no one has left themselves a comfortable amount of time for the final obstacle, that trailer load. And James has had the luxury, being the 5th place team coming into this final round, to watch a number of runs to know. He needs a tight flank here, though. Perfect. Needs Pete to turn on to this last heifer. Not too wide, though. There we go. Now he's going to push her through. Ooh, that was a near run thing. Not since Todd and Digger have we seen excitement like that. And he is good to move on. He's left himself nearly 3 minutes for the final 2 obstacles. But again, we've seen on almost every run here today that this is where the cattle start to get a little less willing to go calmly with the flow. Is that going to be true for James? No. They go straight in. Obstacle 5. He just needs this last heifer to follow the one that just went through. Needs to be careful. He doesn't want this heifer to run over his dog. Really nice horse work there from James. Really nice. And he has left himself more time by far than anyone yet today for this trailer load. That could have gone either way right there at the sort, but really nice timing. You could see he backed his horse off a few times just to make sure he wasn't pushing that heifer over his dog. Whenever he saw that heifer look back at Pete, he backed his horse away, and then at just the right moment surged it forward to make sure it didn't squirt out the wrong way. And now he's got things lined up pretty nice for his trailer. Needs to make sure that Pete doesn't get too much in their eye. He's got something just spooked that one heifer, but she's gonna go with it. First one's in. Can he get the last 2? So far today, it's been the third ones that have been uncertain, and he's gonna do it. That is a very strong showing from James and Pete. A full point run in less than 9 minutes. Well ahead of where things were before. So really, really nice work there from that team. And there were some moments where things looked dicey. Obstacle 3, there were a few moments of uncertainty, but it all came down, I think, really to obstacle 6 and that really nice work from James backing his horse up when the heifer was looking at his dog, making sure he wasn't pushing on it too hard, and then surging it forward at just that critical moment to get that last heifer through the way he wanted. And that's a run-winning maneuver right there. And repeat it 3 times, and maybe it goes wrong 2 times or 1 time, but they got it when it counted, and that's going to be a hard run to beat. Under 9 minutes on a course with this much to do and this much ground to cover. Multiple sorts, a trailer load at the end. Under 9 minutes is a really, really nice time. And so James and Pete are now comfortably in first place. And yeah, they're going to be a tough team to overcome there. So be great to watch and see if some of the other teams coming up can match that. And we're going to move right along now with our next contestant, next competitor, next team, Kevin Lippy and his dog Buck. Now they have over a minute advantage coming into this round compared to James and Pete. They also have a full point run, but they were the 4th place team heading into today. And so if he gets a full point run, because of how close James was to 9 minutes, even if Kevin gets a 9 minute and 45 second full point run here, he will be in the top spot. That being said, getting a full point run on this course is not a given. So the pressure is on. That said, this is only one of 2 dogs Kevin has in the finals. He also has the first place position with his dog Chalk. So we will see Chalk and Kevin again, or we'll see Kevin again with Chalk. Not too long. But so far so good on the lift. Nice and clean. The dog is flanking a little bit just to gather up his cattle, but it's not overdone. Staying in contact, persuading those heifers to pick up their heads and get moving. And so far they're together as well, which is good. You always know you're in for a bit of trouble if you start off your lift and one of your heifers is off on their own adventure, writing their own story. But it is Buck who is writing the story here for these heifers. So far it's a good one. They're moving with speed. They're right on line. He's getting the flanks that he wants the second he asks for them. He needs a come by here. Perfect. Just in time. And a dog that takes your commands, your whistles, when you ask for them and not 5 seconds later. A dog that can give you those nice wide flanks on the fetch when you want them. And a tighter one to make a little bit of a tighter turn when you need it. That's a big difference maker between a fast fetch and a short and a slow one. And so far, Kevin and Buck are off to a really good start here. He is riding out to meet his dog. On a good pace here. Gonna need the away here. And he's gonna get it. So far, Buck has taken every whistle right when he needed to. And Kevin is in good shape here. He's got to be feeling good about how his run has started. And things are looking real nice so far from Kevin and Buck. They have come to compete today. They saw what James did and they said that was impressive. Can we beat it? And just nice to see these three cattle really nice and tight together, moving with purpose. He's covering the near side, relying on Buck to drive from the back while holding the left side. And now he's going to need a nice away here. The second he feels his cattle are far enough along this obstacle, there it is. And he's going to apply pressure on the right here to help turn their heads. That one heifer had a thought in her head about maybe going on a bit of an adventure. He did a nice job with his horse. Now we're going to see, once his cattle get far enough along, probably right there, come by, get their heads turned. He needs to bring them around and through the right hand side of this obstacle. And his heifers are not quite sure what's going on. They're gonna size up Buck a little bit here, but Buck is more than able to answer the bell. Buck's not afraid here. Needs to come by maybe just to seal the deal, and then they're through. So they're up to 90 points on their way to obstacle 4. You want to be through obstacle 4 maybe around 5.5 minutes at the most, unless you're very confident that you can get through obstacle 6 right away. You want to save some time in your bank for that. Good pace here from Kevin and Buck, though. They're moving their cattle with speed, with purpose, but as you can see, those cattle are not getting riled. They're not running off to the hills, not freaking out. They're happy to move if they're moved with authority and diplomacy, and gonna rely on Buck here to curl his cattle into this obstacle. He wants one to come out the bottom of this tree, the other two to go out the top. Not an easy obstacle. He's got two pointed the right way. He's going to try and block the last one. And there it is. Made it look easy. Come by now, probably. Horn away.
I know. He said he wasn't clear. What was he not clear?
What?
What did he do?
We're not sure here. You might need to retry this one.
What was he not
I don't
clear?
know.
from this angle, it looked like he was good to go. But it seems like he's being told to retry. And that's going to be a heartbreaker here for Kevin and Buck, because they were looking real good.
They're playing from this angle. I mean, I didn't pick my one up. It's good enough to know that.
Fortunately for Kevin and Buck, they do not have much difficulty reloading the obstacle.
Stop. You just asked good again. He said, yeah.
Time is ticking away on this retry. Needs to get one of these heifers to turn back. I think he's found the one he wants. Needs to turn her around, get her around that tree. He does. Now, I think that should be good enough. He should get his points there, but critical time lost. Still 3.5 minutes to go, though, in this run, so he does have time. If he can get over to 5 in a hurry and get through it, and if he can make short work of obstacle 6, which this team is more than capable of doing, they should be okay. Needs his cattle to come out the right side there, that right opening. And he's kept his cattle nice the whole way through, and so you have to think they're willing to go along for the ride a bit more. He's going to try the Todd and Digger approach here of putting 2 through and then going back for the last one, and they make it look easy. So 2.5 minutes left. 2 obstacles to go. Again, he's coming into this final round a minute ahead of where James and Pete were. And so even a 9:45 and 9:50 run, as long as it's full points, is enough to put him ahead in first, at least temporarily, until some of the higher seeded dogs run. But we've seen it time and time again. This is the point in the run where sometimes headed downhill, headed back in the direction of set out, even the nicest group of cattle have sometimes started to be a bit disgruntled, but they're doing a nice job with this group. No questions asked. They're going to go into this pen. Needs to be careful, though. It is very easy to push your cattle over your dog here when you stand where you need to stand with your horse on that far side. Good work there from Buck. Really nice work from Buck to hold the line. Could have been disastrous. Now he wants one of his heifers to come out the top, 2 to come out the bottom. Looks like he's going to try and do the 2 through the bottom first. No, he's going to do 1, 1, and 1. And he's got it. Look at that. Oh, Buck. Needs Buck out of there. And narrowly avoids disaster there. Buck said, I'm helping. But at that particular moment, Buck was not helping. But it was not fatal to their hopes. They are lined up for the trailer. If he can get this in the next 45 seconds, this will be our new front runner for first place. And these cattle have been really nice about being open-minded about the opening to the trailer. If given the opportunity. He's got one at the back, though, that isn't sure. And the 2 at the front aren't doing him any favors.
Oh, there goes one.
You'd like to see them hop right on. With 15 seconds to go, they are hesitating, and it could be costly. They are not convinced. That is a heartbreaker. His cattle just got to that opening, and there it is. Time has run out. And unfortunately, Kevin did give himself an opportunity to get to the trailer with some time to spare, but unlike some of the other runs we've seen, his cattle got there and said, we're just gonna stick around here, and we're not that convinced by this whole trailer situation. And maybe if you had 30, 40 more seconds to go, you could afford to let them make up their mind. But in this case, time ran out, and a real nice run there from Kevin and Buck. Some real nice work and multiple points. But it might have been that need to retry obstacle 4 that
What was happening? What was wrong with that?
that cost them. And we're going to move things right along here now with our next team. David Henry, also running a dog named Buck. Different Buck, though, we promise you. Different dog. And David and Buck are coming in as the 3rd place team into today with 420 points and 16 minutes and 40 seconds combined over their first 2 runs. So also coming in with a bit of an advantage over our current leading team. But James and his dog Pete have the advantage of already having secured their full point run in 9 minutes, give or take. And so the pressure is on, not just for David and his dog Buck, but also Dwayne and Sid, who will be next, and Kevin, Lippy, and Chalk, who will round out this class, to see if they can also manage a full point run here. Now David and Buck are going to try and see if they can get a nice clean lift here. A little bit of hesitation from their cattle, but Buck is going to give them a bit of encouragement, bit of toothy encouragement. Is it enough? It looks like it. Can sometimes be tricky when these cattle are so well behaved that they don't need bites too often, and sometimes if a dog hits them and hurts their feelings, they can take it out on you later in your run. But it doesn't look like Buck has rattled them at all, just got them moving, which is nice. And they are making good time through obstacle 1. A little bit of a significant overflank there from Kevin with his dog. Buck circled around in front of them, not once but twice on the come-by side, and it might not look like it's done much, but these cattle can get offended by overflanks, by circling.
Do I have David Henry on there?
So hopefully, no, not yet. We need David Henry on here. Thank you. So it can be tricky if there are significant overflanks. Sometimes it can rattle the cattle a little bit, but so far they've done a nice job. They're not too disheveled by any means. And David is remembering to come all the way through, which is what we want. That is a rule on this course, to follow your cattle through. We saw with Dwayne's first run that if you forget, you can throw away some points that you really need. So a little bit of separation now from David's cattle here. It's not mortal. It hasn't, thrown anything off the boat in terms of their chances of victory, but they're going to want to stay on top of this. It can get out of hand if not curtailed, and David is a very skilled handler, so he's going to be watching these cattle closely and wanting to make sure that he and Buck are shutting down any shenanigans from this group right away. And they're gonna make their way through obstacle 3 real nice and easy, and head to obstacle 4 with time to spare. We've seen most runs be in the 4.5, 5 minute mark by the time they get to obstacle 4, and David is well ahead of that benchmark. If he can keep this going, if he can get clean obstacles for 4, 5, and 6, he's going to give himself a lot of time for that trailer load at the end. But there are, of course, some tricky things to navigate between here and there. He's got his cattle lined up nicely for obstacle 4. He needs to be careful, though. He doesn't want them shooting out the top end there. He's not yet in position to cover. He wants to put one on this side of the tree. He's done it. And he wants the other 2 out the top. And he is going to make this look really easy. Just needs to make sure he gets his cattle all the way out, which he's done. And he is cooking with gas. 4 minutes and 45 seconds or so into his run, and he is down to 3 obstacles. Doesn't need to worry so much about this last heifer going back into the obstacle. He's already completed it. He just needs to be careful he doesn't ride through, and he knows what he's doing, so he's not going to do that. He's on his way to obstacle 5 now. Needs to get Buck into the game here. He's got a bit of an adventurous heifer leading the way. The unfortunate thing is she's not yet pointed right where he wants her. But nice work there from David to cover the right side, and he's going to nudge along his trailing heifer here. But the group is starting to splinter a little bit. So far, not too much of a problem. But again, needs to be on top of this. Between obstacle 5 and 6 is usually where we start to see the cattle on this course lose their focus a little bit, lose their patience a little bit. And it's just been little things over the last little bit, but those things can add up to a lot. Those things can add up to a lot if not kind of managed right from the get-go. So he needs to turn these heifers around, put them through the right-hand side of this obstacle. Needs to come by now. He's going to go with the away. His dog was already kind of in that position. The unfortunate thing is it's not quite enough. Now he needs an away to tuck these 2 in. And his cattle are starting to give him a little bit of trouble here. And this one heifer standing in the middle of the opening here is not helping matters. She needs to move on. She's blocking the access of her compatriots, but nice work there from Dave, using his horse to solve things. And he's given himself 3 minutes now for the last 2 obstacles. But again, this is where we've seen multiple times today, more than one run, something about this downward drive down the hill towards obstacle 6 seems to cue to these cattle that it's time to be a bit rambunctious, or at least a little less focused. But nice work there from Buck David sent Buck over there to sort things out for him. He just needs to be careful now. Doesn't want to push these cattle back over his dog. We've seen that can sometimes happen here. He wants one out the top, two out the bottom. Good work there from Buck to hold the line on the left. You probably saw those two remaining heifers thought about running over David's dog, and Buck said, nope, you don't want to do that. Now, he's only got one out the bottom, if I'm not mistaken. Or did he do that right?
Yeah. 2 at the bottom and 1 at the top.
So he's got his full points there. And he's given himself maybe more time than almost anyone else to try the trailer. He's probably right on pace with where James's time was. But the difference is he's coming into this final round with a bit of a cushion because he was the third place dog, because he did finish his first 2 runs in 16 minutes and 40 seconds compared to James's 17 minutes and 46 seconds. If he can get this trailer, he will be in first, but he's having some difficulty. He's got 3 different personalities at the trailer. They all have different ideas about what they want to do. He's going to get 1 in. He's going to get 2. Can he get the last one in? And he does, and that will do it. That is a full point run, and you can feel or hear the applause probably from where you are. Despite not being as fast, I think, as James's run with Pete, his more than a minute of cushion because of how he performed in rounds 1 and 2 will mean that as of right now, David, Henry, and Buck are comfortably in the lead in this final round. They are the current first place team, and it will be up to Dwayne, Hurleman, and Sid, and Kevin Lippy and Chalk, who are the higher seeds coming in, to see if they can match or beat that time. We'll have to see. We'll be on to those runs in just a minute, but for the moment, big congratulations to David and his dog Buck for a very, very tight, very, very clean performance. They have put themselves in a position to potentially be in first by the time all is said and done. Just 2 runs to go. Okay, and we are ready to go with Dwayne Hurleman and his dog Sid. Just waiting for his cattle to come out here. Our second place team coming into today, a score of 420 points in their pocket, combined time of 16 minutes and 40 seconds, so 8 seconds faster than Kevin Lippy and Buck coming into today. But David, Henry, and Buck, I should say. But David, Henry, and Buck are currently in first with a full point run that took them just around 9 minutes or so. So Dwayne is going to need to be at least a full point run here and no less than 8 seconds slower than David to win. Things off to a bit of a tricky start here for Sid and Dwayne. Cattle pointed the wrong way at one point. He's gonna need to hurry. Got the away there. His cattle are on a nice line. He's got them through. He's gonna start riding out to obstacle number 2, and we better believe we're gonna see Dwayne ride through obstacle 2 this time. Or at least we hope so. That would be a costly mistake to make twice in this finals round. He lost 30 points with his first run. He does not want to lose 30 points with this one. Dwayne and Sid looked fantastic yesterday in round 2 of the horseback. And hopefully they can repeat that again. Now he stopped his horse. We want to see him ride around now and go through. There it is. Whew. We can all breathe a sigh of relief. Things are off on the right foot here. 2 minutes. He's passed his obstacle 2. He's on his way to 3. Can he keep the momentum going? Keep things going? So far, looking real good. He's getting through things with nice pace. His cattle are just about at the point where he's going to want a nice away flank now from Sid. He'll hold the right side if Sid can push with the left. He needs to move his horse in though. There he goes. Oh, just slides that one heifer on the right side of the panel. Needs a big come by here now while he pushes on the right hand side. Sid not quite helping him there. Bit too tight with that flank. And things have kind of imploded a little bit. He's going to try and put this one heifer back with the other 2, but he's not quite far enough around her. He's actually pushing her towards set out with where he's positioned. There we go. Oh, it's blocking her there. He's trying to avoid having to regather his cattle here. He wants to try and get this heifer, but it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. That was a risk there from Dwayne. He needs to regather his cattle and start over again. It's tricky to try and work one heifer on this field. And that gamble did not pay off. That said, if he can get through this in a hurry, all is not lost. Going on a bit of a walkabout here, and needs to get back in the game here. Talking to the judge, maybe a bit too much. Instead of focusing on the obstacle, just start it over again. One of the things that can really hurt in a big trial like this is if something goes off the rails, avoiding, kind of getting thrown off your game. And this is a team, this is a handler, this is a dog that has shown repeatedly they can do anything they need to on this field. But don't want to get rattled. And look at that. They're going to do a great job recovering here. They've lost time, but it's not lost in terms of the whole run. They still can get things going. He's going to try and push his cattle a little bit. Might want to use his dog a little bit more. He's got a great dog, well trained. This is a team that can do damage in a good way. They proved it by making it to this final round in second place. Can they make up for lost time? got his cattle nicely turned in here. And they're just going to walk right into 4, calm as you like. Needs to keep things real even. He's got 1 out the top. He needs 2 out the top. Now he needs this last heifer to come out the bottom. Call in your dog there. There he goes. Really clean work there. That's the kind of way you want to do that obstacle when you're short on time. Now, if he can get over to 5 in a hurry,
I was watching.
they'll be in good shape. Even despite the minor tragedy of obstacle 3, this is recoverable, especially if Dwayne keeps pulling off really smooth work like he just did at obstacle 4. He needs to make every second count from this point forward. But again, we've seen from this team in both rounds up till now, they are capable of mowing through obstacles like they're nothing. And they're going to maybe do it again here. Oh! Just going to lose 1, 2 of his heifers at the right side. And a bit of jazz from Dwayne there. Making a kind of a fast movement with his horse. Would like to maybe see him rely a bit more on his dog in a situation like that. He's got a great dog. He's going to give this obstacle another shot. He's going to have 1 go out the wrong way, though. And she is losing patience with the situation, making each attempt a little trickier. He's got 2 minutes remaining. Needs to call Sid in here. Sid needs to get in. Can't be wide at a time like this. There you go. Really nice. Just push him in now. And they can move on to their second last obstacle. There it is. So he's still got time. He's got over 90 seconds. It's not much. It may not be enough now to challenge David and his dog Buck for first, but it will be enough to challenge for second if they can get their next 2 obstacles done. In this situation, he's going to ride out to bring his cattle back online. Sid might have been able to get there a bit faster. Dwayne is going to work on pushing his cattle in, but he had to move quickly to cover his lead heifer, and unfortunately it's going to leave Sid to clean things up on the back end, which he does really nice. Now he needs 1 out the front, 2 out the bottom here. Needs Sid to come in on him here. There's 1 out the bottom. And he's done it. And Dwayne has been doing stuff like that all week long. You think you're going to count them out, and they fly through a tricky obstacle with some really impressive horse work and dog work. They have been stars of the horseback class for sure, and that's kind of why. But he's only got 15 seconds now to try and get this trailer load. He's battling for second place now. Needs to push, and it's unfortunately not going to be enough. And there's time. Bit of a heartbreaker there for Dwayne. They did almost every obstacle perfectly, but things got away from them a little bit at 2. If there's one lesson maybe to learn from this run, is if things go wrong, knuckle down and get back to task. Try to avoid chatting with the judge too much. But such nice work from this team, not just in this run, but in both the runs before. They have really shown that they're a force to be reckoned with, and I think we're going to see them probably continue to be serious contenders for years to come. But unfortunately for this day, they will not end up in the top spot. We'll have to see where they land in the top 5 when all is said and done. or the top 8, depending on how things shake out. But that will be it for Dwayne and Sid for today, and we'll move right on to our final team. Kevin Lippy and his dog Chalk, our first seed, our first place team previous to this round. They're coming in with full points and a combined time of 16 minutes and 15 seconds. So they have a 25-second advantage over our current leading team, David Henry and Buck. So if they can pull off a run that is around 9:20, 9:25, somewhere in that neighborhood, and it's full points, they'll be in position to win, but we'll have to see. And we are back for our final run. Our first place seed coming into this. We've got Chalk, handled by Kevin Lippy. He's got a big act to follow. Dwayne had a real nice run almost the whole way through. But now it's up to Kevin and Chalk to defend their position coming into today in first place. They're going to need a full point run somewhere in the neighborhood of 9 minutes and 20 seconds or so to leave home or leave this trial with the top prize. There's money on the line, there's prizes on the line, there's a buckle on the line, there's a hat on the line from Beggar Hats. Each winner of each class will get a custom hat designed by those folks, which is a heck of a prize. And it all comes down to this final run. The lone Kelpie, this is a Kelpie, correct? In this class, in this final round, has been turning heads all week in this class. Chalk has been very, very strong. And can they close it out? They've got a really nice run from David Henry that they are up against, with 25 seconds advantage in their corner, but they do need full points. And Chalk is getting things started really, really nice. Cattle are moving straight, relatively straight to the first obstacle. Doing a nice job keeping that line. Needs a bit of an away there. Gets it. His cattle are well positioned. Might need a little bit of a come by just to seal the deal, and he's got it. And that's going to be the first 30 points for Kevin and his dog on their path to 210. Will it be a successful journey? We will have to see. But for the moment, it started on the right foot. He is riding out now to join Chalk. Still under 2 minutes in their run time. So they're well on their way. Just needs to keep things together. He's got one or two of his heifers considering coming out the wrong side of this obstacle, but good work there from Kevin to to make sure that doesn't happen. And he follows the rules of riding through this obstacle. Some folks might be confused. That is normally something you are not allowed to do, but on this course, it is mandatory. Judge has decreed it. So good job there from Kevin to make sure that he rides through that obstacle. And now he's going to turn his attention to obstacle 3. And it's just been real clean, business-like work here from this duo. We've seen it all week from them, honestly, but it's nice to know that they are going to, at least so far, hold true to form for this final run. So he needs Chuck to walk in here and tuck these cattle in. He's got them lined up. Just needs to now walk him in. Needs to be careful on this come by side. There we go. He's got at least one heifer considering going the wrong way, but he's going to just nicely manage that so that all 3 go through. Now he needs to turn them around and have them come through the other side, back the way they came. He's nudging them nicely. There we go. And his cattle are going to oblige him nicely. Doesn't want to flank too much on this away side here. Stops Chuck at just the right moment. And they're going to begin their drive now down to obstacle 4. So far they've been perfect. So far they're looking good on time. But a 10-minute full point run is not enough for them if they want first place. They're going to need to be in the 9:20, 9:25 range to still be ahead of the very strong showing of David Henry and his dog Buck, who have set the bar that anyone who wants to be first is going to have to climb over. But so far, Kevin and Chuck have got all the opportunities still ahead of them. They haven't made any mistakes yet. Nothing obvious anyway. Now he just wants to put these cattle through this obstacle. They're lined up pretty nicely. He wants one out the bottom here on this side of the tree. The other 2 out the top. It can be tricky to figure out who your volunteer is going to be to go alone on the bottom side. He needs to hurry there, and he's done it. Good work with his horse. He's given this heifer a chance to make a different decision. But one thing that he needs to look out for is while he's managing this heifer, he's got his other 2 deciding that they're home free, and he's going to go get them. They went to the water. Chalk is going to make an emphatic point there. Now he still has his full points, but lost a little bit of time there having to go get those 2 who took that opportunity to go see the world. But nice job there from Chalk to go get them back, and good call there from Kevin to go and help his dog. He probably knows Chalk could have done it by himself, but he's got the time. Might as well be sure of things. Go support. Now they're on their way to 5. They've got, if they want first, about 3 minutes to get the last 3 obstacles done. But we've seen it. This trailer load at the final obstacle is not a freebie. Sometimes your cattle walk right in, and sometimes they stand there and think about life. So let's see if Kevin can build on the momentum he's got here. Get his cattle down to obstacle 6. Get through that sword in a hurry. This is it. This is the final run. This is where we determine whether David and his dog Buck are going to hold on to first place, or if Kevin and Chalk are going to snatch it. Cattle are moving nice and calm. He's got about 2 minutes now. 2 minutes means that he probably needs to get obstacle 6 in one try. If he needs to retry it, if one of his cattle go out the wrong way, if one of his cattle come back out, that's gonna probably be too much lost time to still get things done. But so far, ooh, he didn't want that heel bite from Chalk. Fortunately, things have not flown off the rails there, but Chalk saw a hawk and he took it. And that could have been bad if that had really offended one of these heifers and they had gone storming out the wrong way. He's got one out the top. That's all he's gonna want from up there. He needs to make sure though he does not push that left heifer over his dog. He's gonna try and invite this heifer in, and he's gonna get it. And now he's got about 45 seconds. We're not exactly sure exactly how much time he has, but he needs to be around the 9:20, 9:25 range, maybe even a bit faster, to get into first place here. But the trailer load is where the fortunes of Kevin and his dog Chalk are going to be decided. He's trying not to push them there too fast. He may or may not know that 9:20 territory is where he needs to be. He probably does. Needs Chalk to just give him a little bit more of an away. Some of his cattle are peeling out the wrong side here. It's tricky because it's going to be tough for him to push these cattle on with where Chalk is. They're in position now. Needs to apply a little bit of pressure. He had one that was thinking about it. She changed her mind. And it is looking like David Henry and his dog Buck are going to be our first place team here in the horseback class of the 2022 National Cattle Dog Association Finals. A real nice run there from Kevin Lippy and Chalk, but fortunately just weren't quite able to seal the deal in that trailer load. We've seen it with multiple groups. It's sometimes you get a group that just is willing to take a leap into that trailer, and sometimes you get a group that wants to ponder the meaning of life for a little while, and unfortunately for Kevin and Chalk, that is the group they had. Still a great run. We've seen a number of really, really nice runs, but it looks like David Henry and Buck and James Butler and his dog Pete will be our first and second place. Unofficially, we'll have to wait for the final scores and final standings to come out, but for the moment, that looks like how things have netted out. Thank you everyone for watching. Hope you enjoyed the horseback finals of the 2022 NCA Finals. We will be back tomorrow morning for the open finals. I will not be on commentating, but I'm sure we'll have someone great, someone better. But in the meantime, hope you enjoyed watching, and we'll see you soon. Make sure to tune back in for the open finals tomorrow. Take care and have a great night.